Well, hi there, Roadtrip Roulette listeners. This is Juliet, and I'm just popping in to say at the top of this podcast that we had a couple sound issues with it. You might hear some background noise, or we had a hardware issue sometimes where the mic kind of muffled our voices, but it's still totally understandable. And we really appreciate you working with us as we try to figure out how we want to do this. So this won't continue. This every once in a while, in the beginning, you might hear some issues.
We're amateurs.
Well, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Roadtrip Roulette, a travel podcast with your hosts, Juliet
And Kevin. We're two friends here to serve as your tour guides on a virtual visit to a randomly selected U.S. town. We're going to bring you the local stories that you didn't think you'd care about and highlight the small town silliness that we all know is just beneath the surface.
Join us as we explore America one town at a time to discover the little things that make it great and sometimes not so great. Buckle up, we're about to start the show.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to Road Trip Roulette.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Juliet.
And we're here to talk to you about some towns that we're going to pick today.
So this is our podcast where we randomly select a town in the United States, don't know anything about or assume we don't know anything about, use a little podcast magic, come back with a bunch of stories, research, knowledge on that town, and just sort of see what we find. How about we find out the next town we will be virtually visiting?
Where are we going today? Let's find out. All right, Juliet, can you read the town?
We are going to, another one I can't pronounce, Oviedo, Florida.
You know, I think I've heard of this place.
What do you know about Oviedo, Florida?
I can't even venture, I guess. So in college, me and some of my friends bought an RV for $1.
Oh, I've heard about the Florida trip, yes.
We bought an old, mid-'80s RV and drove it all the way to Florida and drove around the entire state. So I spent the entire time staring at a map. This is back, pre-GPS on phones, at least. And we were too poor to have, the nice GPS that you could, mount in your vehicle. So we just had road atlases. But I do remember this. I think it's a city.
So you're saying you can vouch for this town existing, but that's about it?
It's a real place. Yeah, I have nothing to add.
Great. Well, I'm excited to learn more. I've never been to Florida.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have not been to many a town on the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, we're going to learn all about it.
I can't wait.
We'll be back soon, and we're going to tell you some stories about Oviedo, Florida.
So here we are in Oviedo, Florida, and I have a story about a weird local phenomenon that was an attraction for kids and teens for decades in the Oviedo area, and it's called the Oviedo Lights. Yeah, I got most of this information from Weird US, which is of significance to us because it originated from Weird, New Jersey, which once employed the comedian Chris Gethard, whose show at which Kevin and I met.
Yes.
So, the Oviedo Lights, outside of town, there is a bridge crossing, alright, this is going to be a fun word to say, the Econ-Lockhatchee River.
Ooh.
The locals call it the Econ, where it has long been reported that drivers at night can see sort of faint bobbing lights around or near this bridge.
Kind of like Marfa, Texas.
Right, yeah. It's a local light phenomenon that has attracted people for years. So it's been there for at least 50 years, and they're either called the Oviedo Lights or the Chilota Lights because they're kind of in between the towns. They're not technically in Oviedo, but they're the namesake of the town. I thought it was applicable. So since the 50s, kids have been driving out from all of the county to this bridge over the Econ just to see these lights. Most of the sightings are reported between the 1940s and 70s, and they faded out for a while, and then in the 90s they became a popular attraction again.
Strange.
Yeah. Here's a quote from Christine Kinslaw-Best, a Central Florida historian. The Oviedo Lights were as famous in the late 60s and early 70s as Spook Hill was to us teenagers. Now, you probably need to be from Central Florida to know what Spook Hill is. You had to go sit on the side of the road and wait till the wee hours of the morning. Usually didn't happen until after midnight. There were always 2 lights about 3 to 4 feet off the ground, and they were light green colored. They would come zooming around the curve in the road just like car lights. Occasionally, the 2 lights would hover in the woods, too. I remember a write-up in a newspaper saying it was swamp gas, or the lights were reflections of real car lights that were way, way down the road, and due to swamp gas and fog, the lights would reflect nearly a mile away. Whatever it was fun for the bunch of us teenagers who wanted to scare the daylights out of each other.
Why is it always swamp gas?
Well, because what else could it be?
Like, they always say that about UFOs and stuff like
Right,
that.
it's
like,
swamp gas.
Swamp gas or weather balloons. Or...
Well, I'm not really familiar with swamp gas in general. So I could not find a first-hand account in a newspaper of anyone who had actually ever seen these lights. Weird US article, whoever authored it, their name wasn't on it, but stated that that person had in fact seen them. And then I found a few blog postings. But any interview in a newspaper, people talked about them like they knew them and it was a local attraction, but when specifically asked had they ever seen them, everyone always said no. So there were a couple of theories about what they are. Like I said before, some people thought swamp gas, but there were lots of ghost stories around them. So there was one about a Cub Scout that was decapitated in the area, and they thought it's the Cub Scout lantern. There was
like a child?
Yeah, well, like a ghost child.
Sure.
Like a ghost of a child.
All right.
There was one about a guy him and his girlfriend were on the bridge, and they drove off the bridge, and lots of these involve heads falling off, and his head fell off, and it mounted on the car like a hood ornament, and now that guy haunts the bridge. Someone said... Okay, well, here's another one about a decapitated young man, but I think it's one of the same decapitated young men I referenced earlier. In 1969, the Florida Technological University, now called the University of Central Florida, the students actually tried to study it and figure out what this phenomenon was, and they couldn't figure out anything. They couldn't even confirm the swamp gas theory. So no one really knows what's going on. The last article I found about it was from the 90s, and the local sheriff is quoted about it, and he can't think of ever seeing them or knowing anyone, a living, who had ever seen them. So
strange.
It's very unclear if these ever actually existed. I mean, another person in an article supposed that it was just sort of a local rumor that teens liked to tell each other because it was an excuse to drive out late at night with your girlfriend and sit in your car for a long time.
Oh, I see what the swamp gas is.
Right. Waiting to come. So, I couldn't find a specific account, but lots of people reference it. Sometimes in the 60s or 70s, there was a really bad car accident in which a local high school teen, 1 or 2 boys, were killed in a car accident while looking for the lights, just driving around late at night. So after that happened, they really kind of did fall out of favor for a long time.
Yeah.
I think the local legend sort of lost its luster when people were hurt. But like I said, they sort of became popular again in the 90s, and now it's still sort of like a local tale around town, and every once in a while, ghost hunters will drive out there to look for them, and no one's ever seen them. I don't think they're real, but...
Weird USA. Come on, guys. We're calling you out here.
We want some deets.
We do want to hear more about that gas.
Right. So if you or anyone you know has seen the Oviedo lights, please let us know. Want to know if they're real. I love spooky stories like this. I am a child of San Jose, California, home of the Winchester Mystery House, and I will forever be fascinated by haunted roads and houses.
Wow.
So yeah, the Oviedo lights.
That's very interesting, and perhaps we could ask our next guest, which has to do with the great town of Oviedo, about the gas. Maybe if we can remember.
We might forget, but if
it could happen. The gas can get in your brain.
Right, we might forget to bring it up. But if we remember, we'll talk to him about it.
Sure. Well, thanks for the story.
You're welcome.
And we'll be right back with more stories from Oviedo. Welcome back to Roadtrip Roulette.
Florida.
Oviedo, we're not entirely sure how to say it.
Oh no, this one I did look up. It's Oviedo. That's the anglicized pronunciation. Originally it was Oviedo.
Well, well,
But now it's Oviedo.
yes, I completely understand that reference. So usually it's my turn to tell a story, and today I'm going to hand over the reins to Adam Giorno. Hello, Adam.
Hello.
We saw something about the town of Oviedo and somebody who is from there. And Adam is an expert in this person, I like to think. Please tell us what you know about Oviedo and this fine young man.
One of the most well-known people from Oviedo, Florida, perhaps unfortunately, is a somewhat unknown ball player named Mark Bellhorn.
Now, when you say ball,
I got it.
the ball of base.
The base.
Yes,
the
ball of
basic
base.
ball.
Yes, he is somewhat of a cult icon in Boston for being a member of the 2004 Red Sox, famously the first Red Sox team to win a World Series since 1918. But he is known for all the wrong reasons. Throughout the season, he was one of the most hated players. This was a team that was known for their energy and their passion for the game. They were the Cowboy Up team. They were the idiots.
Yes, another thing they were known for, though, is their injuries. And this is why Mark Bellhorn is on the team.
Mark Bellhorn was drafted out of high school by the Oakland Athletics, then just was terrible. He hit 131 for Oakland over the course of several seasons, getting called up, put down, back in the minors. Just really, really bad. He was released and then signed by the Cubs, and then immediately was fantastic. Well, by his standards anyway. He hit 27 home runs for the Cubs in 2002 and became the first National League player to hit a home run in the same inning from both sides of the plate.
Well,
Oh, that's a cool statistic.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Right, very specific
That's
stat,
a
but
very
he's got
specific
it.
stat.
But he's got it.
Now, if I remember correctly, in 2004, he also had a record, or he was at the top of a certain category that year.
Oh yeah, that was 2002 that he had his great year. In 2003, again, he was terrible. Released by the Cubs, signed by the Red Sox as a utility player. Nomar, at the time, one of the stars on the Red Sox, was injured. Then Pokey Reese, their second baseman, was injured. And then he found his way into the second base starting role. So without even playing a full season, he crushed the strikeout record that season. Ended up getting 177 strikeouts. Led the league that year by a large margin.
Can we talk about the playoffs?
Absolutely. So everybody hated Mark Bellhorn during the season. He had no energy, pretty much never said a word, never hustled down the baseline, never went out of his way to do anything special. Had a good eye at the time. I think the Red Sox were the only team that would have signed him. But they recognized walks mean something. But when he got to the playoffs, now, there's a lot of talk. They had a famous comeback against the Yankees in 2004 in the ALCS. They were down 3-0, came back. Until that point, Mark Bellhorn had gone 2 for 25. But in Game 1 of the ALCS, Mike Mussina was pitching a perfect game against the Red Sox.
Moose!
Perfect game against the Red Sox. In the 7th inning, Mark Bellhorn broke up that perfect game. They still lost. Then they went on to lose Game 2. Game 3 was an embarrassing 19-8.
I shut it off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was bad. Then
So wait, I don't know. Are you guys Red Sox fans?
We are from the great state of Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Game 6, Mark Bellhorn hit a 3-run home run, which they initially called a double because a fan caught it in his sweatshirt, or it bounced off of him. He had his hands in his hoodie, bounced off his sweatshirt, landed on the field. The umpires initially called it a double. This is before instant replay, too. So they came out, they conferred about it, reversed the call, and gave him a 3-run home run. The Red Sox ended up winning that game 4-2.
It's the reverse Bartman.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Baseball's a weird fucking sport, you guys.
Then he hit a home run off the foul pole in Game 7 of that series, which the Red Sox completely destroyed the Yankees and made it to the World Series. Then in Game 1 of the World Series, Bellhorn broke a 9-9 tie with a 2-run home run off the foul pole, which won Game 1 of the World Series for them. and he became the first second baseman to ever hit a home run in 3 consecutive postseason games.
What a guy.
And then his career just tailed off, and he was pretty much never heard of.
Well, I would love to know what he's up to now.
Well, he is a member of the New York Yankees All Forgotten team.
What?
They had fan voting for the All Forgotten team, the least memorable players in Yankees franchise history. Because as soon as the Red Sox released him in the 2005 offseason, the Yankees picked him up. He played a few games here and there for them, and the fans remembered him enough to name him the most forgettable second baseman that the Yankees have ever had.
Well, I'm having fun just remembering him right now. I wish we could learn a little more.
Sure. I did manage to get a hold of him.
What? Wait, you got his number?
Oh, yeah. It seems like he's not doing much at all. Like, he was excited even just to have human contact. It seemed.
How do you know?
Oh my god, I can't believe you did that. Adam.
He has a MySpace. He
Wait.
has almost no online presence.
You went to his MySpace
He's
page.
very active on his MySpace page.
Okay.
So, like, have you been talking to him? Can we talk to him?
He's not too talkative, but he said he'd be into doing a little interview if
Oh,
you want to.
really? Okay.
Yes. Give him a call.
Sure. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Hey, this is Adam with Roadtrip Roulette. We spoke on your MySpace page.
Oh, you. I didn't think you were going to call.
Yeah, no, I was just telling them that I got in touch with you through your MySpace page, which you were very active on.
Yeah, the hits, they keep coming.
Well, I think you swing a lot. I don't know about the hits.
Oh, right, so inside baseball, all right.
Oh, thank you so much for talking to us. This is a big surprise for me and Kevin. We really appreciate it. I'm Juliet, by the way.
Oh, plenty of time over here in beautiful Florida.
Florida? Where in Florida are you?
I think it's called Corolla.
You're not entirely sure of the name of the town that you live in.
So, what have you been doing with your life? You cleaned up. You have family. What are you doing these days?
Yeah, the family's good. They help me out at the meat store. I'm a butcher now.
Oh, butcher.
Yeah, help me clean up, sell steaks.
It's all steaks? Is that what it?
No, help me sell steaks. It's just normal steaks. Nothing to talk about there.
All right. Is it your company or?
Yeah, the orange steaks.
Wow, you're a regular Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, but my hands aren't that small.
Mark, have you gone to Boston recently? Have you had any contact with the team?
You know, after they cut me, which I still don't understand, I packed my bag going straight to New York City for the best 2 weeks of my life. And when I'm on the East Coast, I try not to go to Boston. They don't treat me so good, even though I was so good to them.
Yeah, we were just talking about how well you did in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I did do good.
I think you've been hitting the meat too hard.
I'm not touching that.
We just mentioned too. Were you aware of this? In 2014, Yankees had some fan voting and named you to the Yankees All Forgotten team.
Wow, that's the old resume. MySpace, edit, bullet point. What is Yankees all-time best team? 2020.
Well, forgotten.
Today I learned Mark Bellhorn speaks and types as he's working.
You know, being forgotten on most baseball teams is better than being remembered in my career.
Fair enough.
But Mark, can you pronounce the Florida town that you grew up in?
I think it was Corolla.
That's what I have it as.
Right,
also.
us too. Thanks for confirming.
We were discussing the pronunciation. We thought it was either Oviedo or Oviedo, but
Corolla sounds better.
Oh, now that you say it, it is Oviedo.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Well, we are very happy that you answered our call. This is very unexpected, and
Quite a surprise. We appreciate it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, call anytime. I mean it.
it's not often we get an athlete who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated albeit with the rest of the 25-man roster on the podcast. So thank you.
You know, funny story. That Sports Illustrated cover of No Mark Garciaparra holding the bat, that was my body. His Photoshop, that big nose loser on top.
I did not know that.
Wow.
Wow.
Little known fact. Check why you didn't read my MySpace page.
Well, you know, you update it so often that we can't really see what was on there earlier.
Oh, yeah, those damn semaphores.
Hey, Mark, before we leave you, tell us who your top 8 is.
Top 8?
Yeah, your MySpace top 8.
Oh, yeah. First of all, the big man, I forget his name.
Tom.
But MySpace.
Tom.
His name was Tom.
Tom's there, that's his name. Numero uno, you gotta respect. Number 2, Pokey Reese.
Yeah.
Best friend in the world.
For getting injured and giving you a starting job on the championship team.
Absolutely, and for playing way better than me.
Yep.
Number 3 through 5, 3 of George Foreman kids. George Foreman. Number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. Beautiful souls. 7 is David Ortiz's fat little kid. He's fun to look at. And number 8, Robin Williams.
He has a MySpace.
Well, he did, and then it went away, and I made another one.
So, your 8th top friend is a Robin Williams MySpace account that you made yourself.
Yeah, it's not very good either. It's mostly just steaks.
You made an advertising page that you...
It's just pictures of Mork.
And
Yeah,
steaks.
click on it. It's Mork
It's
and
just
pork.
Mork and pork. That's good.
No, you got something there.
I'm not very good at writing copy, so if you see any typos, feel free to just edit it in there for me. The password is Bellhorn Pork Chop.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. We're happy to help.
We appreciate it.
Well,
Okay.
thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time. We really love talking to you.
You're a treasure, Mark.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. Have fun and stay off the steak.
Will do.
Will do.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, Mark.
Well, that was...
What a get, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to the show.
Sure.
We really needed it.
Levity.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for listening. It's been another great episode. Thank you, Adam, for...
Yeah, thank you, Adam and Mark.
Sure. My pleasure.
We really appreciated that insight. That was a
Great guest today.
great guest. And as always, please don't tell them we sent you.